Well, many people try and many fail at starting their own businesses, but our next guest has written a book about how not to fail. He says you can build a business and sell it for a large profit. We're joined now by Garson, author of How to Build a Business and Sell It for Millions. Jack, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me. This is great.
Well, we're glad to have you because we get sent books every day with offering advice to people trying to start their own businesses. And the reason we really like this book, that I really like this book, is it goes beyond the obvious in a lot of ways. And I have to say, I think it's great advice for people not only owning businesses, but I think if you work in a business, you've got a lot of good advice here. So let's start with some of those things, because you have a lot in here about some of the details, like whether you're going to be an LLC or what kind of corporation you're going to be. So for that, go buy the book, read it, you'll get all the tips. But I also like some of the things you get into in the book, telling people about ways that their own, even for example, personalities can keep them from being successful.
There's a classic one called The Founder's Dilemma, and that is the perfect person to start a company is the worst person to grow the company. And that's why they call it the Founder's Dilemma.
And tell me what you mean by that.
The founder is typically a perfectionist. He or she works day and night, 24 hours a day. They got the Bluetooth in their ear. They're available to their customers all the time.
They like being involved in every decision.
They've got people lined up outside their office, and they're deciding the weight of the paper for their new stationery. They're involved in everything. They have trouble delegating. When you grow your business, when you go to grow your business, well, you need to have an executive team. You need to expand. You need to grow. But you don't want to delegate. You're afraid to give anything to anybody. You even start to undermine people because you don't want them to succeed. And there's a big thing required to change from the star player, Michael Jordan, to the star coach, Phil Jackson.
And you have so many examples of this, including one executive that you were coaching and working with, and he went to go sell his business and got zero because they said, you're it. And if you fall under a bus,
this
company's worth nothing to us. You worked with him, he changed his ways, sold it for $100 million. Not bad advice.
That's right. That was the Bob show. We couldn't convince Bob to build an executive team or a sales force or get a modern accounting system. We get the company all geared up to sell. The buyer comes in, does their due diligence, and they take one look and say, forget it. Well, now Bob had heard it from everybody and experienced it in real life. We brought in a former president from a Fortune 100 company, a CFO that was with then a Big Six accounting firm, a sales force, and a modern accounting system. Let them go to work for a year. The next thing we did, we brought in 3 buyers, and they competed to buy the business. It was night and day. And he pocketed an enormous check.
Another thing that I like about this is that you say there may be some personality traits that you have that this is the first business book I've ever read where you said, call it what you will, a counselor or whatever, go see a shrink and get over some of your personal issues that are holding you back from growing your company.
It's so true.
I was amazed by that.
We see it every day, and it's a very sensitive subject because we all have issues, but we don't like to look at our own. And I will work with business people who have issues where they are undermining their company. The worst example was one guy who literally choked 4 of his employees.
Literally, you said.
Literally choked 4 of his employees.
And he was still trying to grow the business. There's some other things in here. You say look at contracts. You call them the miracle growth of a company. You say look at how much you should pay employees. Don't hold back on that. And all kinds of different ways that people are holding themselves back from growing their company to that big $100 million deal.
It's absolutely
It's a great book. Garson, How to Build a Business and Sell It for Millions. We'll be right back after the break.